the choices are very different when you're painting. With a camera, your choice is where you're looking, and what is your color saturation, and what are the values that you're working with, the compression rates of your film. But when you're painting, all things are possible. See that flat now? Now I've got a bunch of goo on my brush. I'm going to show you what to do with that goo. So you don't ever have to wash. You notice I didn't wash my brush in between each day. I'm very messy. That's German Expressionism in a nutshell. I'm a combination of German Expressionist and Woodstock Impressionist. So Impressionism and Expressionism together makes the kind of mess you just saw. I have a kind of a weird gray here. But it's got all kinds of colors in it. And I'm going to take advantage of that by adding white to it. And making kind of cloud forms out of it, these wild cloud forms. And you notice I'm moving my brush all kinds of different ways, like this, so that it doesn't, the brush is never the same way twice. It's never doing the same exact thing twice. This comes from action painting. I was an action painter in the 1950s. I tried everything. I couldn't keep a job. Right? So, this I learned from Franz Klein. I used to watch Franz Klein paint in the studio. And he would make the brush move this way and that way in every which direction. And never let it sit still. It would always move. He was always in action. When you saw de Kooning paint, I watched de Kooning paint. He used to paint just constant action, constant moving and moving and moving. Motherwell, same thing, constant action, moving. Pollock I never saw. I saw him paint twice. But at a distance. He kept a distance from Pollock. He didn't get anywhere close to him. Lee Craster was a very good friend. She was a very sweet person and a very good painter. She was far better painter than Jackson Pollock. By far better. And she actually gave him the stage and backed off and let him just rule everything. The reason you know his name is because of all the New York school, he was the only one born in the United States. Everyone else was a foreigner. And so at that time in particular, this is the time of McCarthyism and so on. So at that time, they didn't want a lot of foreigners to be the New York school. These are people who had escaped Hitler. They'd come to New York to escape Nazism. And they landed, they just stayed there, and they lived there and they worked. And without them, there would have been no New York school. There would have been no American artists at that time, none of any note. But they were all foreign born. So here's this kid from Wyoming. Was it Wyoming? I think it was Wyoming. And they elected him, they didn't, but the newspapers, the media, elected him as the king of the New York arts. The New York Art School, people in the New York Art School, thought he was an idiot, an absolute idiot. And they called him Jack the Dripper. I mean, they had nothing good to say about this. But I learned from Krasner how to keep my brush moving in different directions, rotate it around. She kept saying, rotate your brush, even change hands. Turn your canvas around, work upside down, do anything to break the monotony of this. What she used to call a Protestant brushstroke.